Welcome back to the Star Wars Newsnet Timeline Show. We have episode 18 for you today, continuing on with Young Jedi Adventures, episodes 5 and 6. So we've made it through the first 4 episodes. We're starting to get closer to the middle points of this, but we're still pretty early on in the season, as we still got several weeks of the Young Jedi Adventures to go. Luke, I have to admit, these two were, I like these two better than last, week's episodes personally. So I'm a little bit more excited to talk about these two. Kai has just some wonderful moments, I feel like, in these 2 episodes, so I'm excited to get into that. But are you ready to continue on with our favorite young trio of High Republic younglings?
I am super ready. I love these kids. Let's go.
Love these kids. So let's do this. Episodes 5 is called the Jelly Fruit Pursuit and the Creature Safari. Nash and the Young Jedi pursue stolen jelly fruit in the first part of this one. And the synopsis of part 1 of episode 5 is essentially Tabor the pirate, as you see him pictured there on the screen. He steals the jelly fruit for the upcoming Jelly Fruit Festival from a grandma and her grandkid. The trio must go to a pirate station and steal it back. Kylis and Nubs are also joined by their good friend Nash Durango, and they dress up as pirates on the attempt, which is pretty hilarious. And they even try to act like them too. So you get like these kids enacting, bringing on their own pirate personalities, which goes exactly kind of how you would expect a group of kids acting like pirates to go. And ultimately, they are able to get them back from Tabor with the help of the Force, of course. But the main lesson comes in at the end when Nash decides to share the jelly fruit with Tabor, even though they are not friends, because the spirit of the Jelly Fruit Festival is sharing in the love of jelly fruit with others. So, Luke, how are we feeling right now about, jelly fruits? Are you going to want to partake in some jelly fruit at some point in your life? Unfortunately, in my Star Wars Galaxy's Edge cookbook that I pulled out last week, there is nothing in Galaxy's Edge that, can help me create any jelly fruit. But I'm curious to know, would you partake in the sweet, sweet jelly fruit if you could?
I absolutely would. Looking at this episode, just watching it, they look delicious. It reminds me of some Rebels episodes with some stolen fruit as well. But yeah, this was a fun one, and I think it's a really, again, I don't think there's any bad lessons throughout this show. It's another really good lesson, which is hard for kids to learn sometimes. I've got a nephew who's an only child, so sharing is actually kind of a hard concept to get through for me. And you having siblings, like your parents can easily beat that into your head, like you have to share.
Right.
So for kids who maybe don't have that ease of learning this episode or learning that lesson, I think this episode is a good little, like, even with people you don't like, you should share.
Really I had the same note written down. The Rebels episode, because there's a level of, they're doing all of this for the jelly fruit to get the jelly fruit back for the festival, and some of these pirates and even Tabor's like, why are you, like, you're here just for this jelly fruit? And it just reminded me of the stormtrooper when Ezra is trying to get the Melu runs, and he's like, wait, you did all of this for fruit? He's like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It was just so funny. So, you said you'll partake in some jelly fruit. I enjoy all the episodes with Tabor, are just a little bit more fun for me. You get Tabor, Pord, and E3, his little band of pirates to go against the kids, and so I always enjoy, that. But I'm curious. So Kublop Springs has the Jelly Fruit Festival. Last week they had they had like the Kublop Geyser Festival. Now we're having the, Kublop Springs Jelly Fruit Festival. How many festivals and parties does this town have? Like each, year? I mean, this is 2 back to back, and it seems like every other episode they're celebrating something.
Okay, so I live in Indianapolis, and I just learned upon moving here recently, there's a strawberry festival which takes place one day on a Thursday every year. Okay, and so it feels like it's hitting home for me, but also for me living in like a city now rather than like a very rural town that I'm used to. I also feel like, wow, there's another festival today. What could we possibly be celebrating today? Like, I get it. I totally get
good.
it.
It's time to celebrate yet again. Fantastic. And so a couple of the more notes that I had throughout here. Do you remember the jelly jingle? Do you have the jelly jingle memorized?
Okay, so yes, I remember that the jelly jingle exists. I'm so sorry, but I don't have it written down
Well,
verbatim of what it is.
luckily for you and our audience
Oh
members,
no.
I got the jelly jingle written down.
You're the
I'm
man.
going to perform it real quick, and I apologize to everyone. I expect this is going to make the Star Wars News and the highlights of the week, probably. All right. I'm going to try to summon my inner child
Okay.
voice and mix it. Juicy and jiggly, soft and sweet, crazy, colorful, and fun to eat. How was that?
That was maybe even better than Nash Durango herself.
Nash Durango and whatever the name of the chef is could not come close
Hap,
to that level of Hap. Yes, Haps. Like gotta come close.
Hap.
Like that's the jelly jingle of the year. Like that, they're right there. I'm gonna audition on the I'm sure Kubop Springs has a talent show festival coming up, and I can enter into that one as well. So did you notice the family that they stole from? Those were Rhodians, right? Like,
yes, I was gonna bring that up. I think they were Rhodians.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they were Rhodians. Do you remember the name of Grandma Rhodian?
I do not remember her name.
Okay.
So sorry to this woman.
It's Weibo. Okay.
Weibo.
And it just made me think, do all Rhodians end in O? Like it's Greedo, we have Uncle Ono, we have Zebo, like now we have Weibo. Is there a Rhodian in canon that doesn't have the O last name? I'd have to look that up. I'm not very, I can't say that beyond that group of like 4 Rhodians that I said, I can't say that I'm like a Rhodian expert in Star Wars.
I think Uncle Ono has some kind of assistant who betrays him in the Clone Wars, and I don't remember her name, but I don't know if that ends with O either, but I think we've found a pattern.
Or is it never mind. I was gonna say, like, is it like maybe like a connotation thing where like males end in O, females like, A, like kind of like how Spanish is, like connotations, but she's the grandma and it still ends Weibo, so never, that kind of throws that out the window.
Along with this species, this is pretty random. This doesn't really, but we're on the topic of it. Okay. I just learned that all of
Not
the
connotation, conjugation. That's conjugation was the word I think I was looking for. I think I said connotation.
Yeah. All of the
Abednito, stupid tonight I am.
The Abednito species, which I can't really give you like a super popular character who that alien species is. All those names that they've made are Beastie Boy albums. I just learned that this week. So that was.
Where'd you learn that one?
Twitter.
So, we love Twitter, or X, as I guess is what we have to call it.
So sorry for the derailment.
So they're going to save the jelly fruit, and Nash is, of course, ready to go save the jelly fruit. And they hop in the Firehawk, they jump to hyperspace and go. The main question I have now, how rich is Nash Durango's family? Because she has to have unlimited fuel reserves because she's just hopping in hyperspace whenever she wants. If it's like a short walk around Kubop Springs, she's taking the Firehawk. She's just going to do that. It's like when you drive like 2 blocks down to like get the mail instead of like walking maybe to get the mail if you live in like a big neighborhood or something. And I'm just asking you, like, where do you think, there's the Santecas, there's the Graffs, the rich families at this time, is the Durango clan somewhere in there in the mix?
I think the Durango clan, maybe they're not in the upper echelon with the Santecas and Graffs, but as far as Tanu goes, they've got to be almost a ruling class here.
It's really got
to be just
season 2 of Young Jedi Adventures is just going to be them like uncovering the plots of the Durangos, like capitalism, just ultra capitalistic hold on Kubop Springs.
That's what season 2 is going to be about.
Oh my goodness. So the group dresses up as pirates, and it's kind of cute watching them, make their little pirate sounds and everything. But then Liz, of course, keeps breaking character and looks at Nubs. She's like, oh, like she's the rest of us. She's like, oh, Nubs, you're so cute. I mean, You know, one of those, instead of her mean pirate face. And I don't know about you, but like I kept like laughing, like just out loud, and kind of chuckling to myself watching the little pirates, almost even smiling, just like affectionately, just like, oh.
Yeah, these kids are cute. Honestly, they're so again, I don't have any kids of my own, but I would want my kids to be like Omega, Liz, and Kai. Throw in
Just a
those two.
mix of
But
all
like,
three.
I love those kids so much. Like, yeah, they're making me laugh too.
So what do you hate about Nubs?
I don't hate Nubs. I think he doesn't speak basic, and so it's hard for me to relate as much as I do with Liz
Oh,
and
okay.
Kai.
I thought you were
I
gonna say
love
you just
Nubs.
prefer your child not to like have like blue fur growing, you know, all over them as
That'd
well.
be cool. That'd be
You
cool.
that's you don't draw the line there. It's just like
No,
you draw the line at if they communicate in you know, those things.
speak a known language, please.
Okay. Nubs also, I love it when he tries to speak like basic too, and it's like
Yeah.
like when he's like they're saying like thank you, and he's just like or you know, look Nubs over there, can you get there in time? Like, you know, one of those right there.
That is D. Bradley Baker, right? Voicing him.
I think so.
So again, he's completely just nailed it for like a decade. And what do you know? He comes into the show and just nails it as Nubs again.
Mm-hmm. So Nash chooses to share with Tabor at the end the jelly fruit, and I really love that moment because say what you want about Tabor, but you just always feel kind of bad for him a little bit because
Yeah.
you can see that he's clearly just seeking some level of like affirmation and validation as like a pirate, as a person, because all he wants is these other pirates to revere him. He wants to be revered because he feels, you know, there's some sort of complex going on there where he feels like he has to always, you know, put on a show. And when the pirates find out he just stole the fruit from the green, he's like, no, I am a pirate. I promise, you know. And you do feel kind of bad for him when he gets trashed all the time.
Yeah. And not to get too deep into it, but he does feel like, you know, there's no parental figure for him shown in the show. And so it kind of feels like a commentary on like neglected children and how they can turn out, kind of the road that's before them if you don't really properly rear a child. Like they're going to be seeking affirmation from all the wrong things. And I think that's where Tabor shows up. That's what kind of what he's used for.
And so that's part one. Part two is Part two is the creature safari. And this one is the trio is visiting the planet Yamarati for a day with RE, the droid from the Galactic Society of Creature Enthusiasts. Another fun field trip for the trio. They're always getting to go on the best field trips here. They will be looking for little creatures known as chillaroos. The leader, RE, has his droid Cam stolen by this giant bird. And they go to the nest, and RE gets taken as well. Ultimately, though, Liz is able to deduce that the creature wanted the droids because they were shiny, just like the berries that the creature eats. And the creature was also, the big bird was just trying to take berries back to the nest to feed its little ones. And the lesson here, though, in this episode, this part, is to kind of think through your problem calmly, and ultimately a solution will present itself. In addition, don't be afraid of things that, you know, you don't understand or are just new to you. You know, you have something to learn from every situation. What did you think about Big Bird?
Big Bird. This was a good episode. This was a funny kind of like big monster chase. Not really fight scene, but yeah, the lesson's good that like even if you don't know anything about this, your first instinct should not be to have aggression or anything or like try to defeat this bird. It's to figure it out. What does it want? How can I help it? How can I get what I need from it? So great lesson here.
So here we get into the mind of a child. Liz gets to name the bird. She is the one that gets to officially name this giant bird, this new species that's been uncovered in the galaxy that we have not encountered yet, that she alone has the privilege of naming, that this is going to be a long-lasting legacy for generations to come to the planet of Yamarati and see this spectacle of a creature. And she goes, well, it lives in a burrow. It eats berries. We're going to call it the burrowberry bird. And I'm like, That's just classic children right there. And I could not help but go, you know what? Hats off to you, Liz. Truly wonderful. The mind of a child is.
Also, it feels very selfless because often here on Earth, when things are discovered, or they often choose their own name to name, like Einsteinium is an element. Like, obviously, that's just named after Einstein. So Liz could have, been really selfish here and named it like the List bird, the List Soleil bird. But no, she takes the road less traveled.
If you found a bird, and you found a creature, what would you name it?
I would have to know if it burrows and if it eats berries first before I could name it.
Would you be a member of the GSCE, the Galactic Society of Creature Enthusiasts? Is that a club that you would be a part of? Are you paying membership dues to be a part of this club, or are you just like a casual member, like you show up on your weekends whenever you have an off day?
I'm showing up on the weekends. Definitely put me in there. I don't know if I have the galactic funds to really pay my membership dues at this point. But
well, what if you paid for it just through volunteer hours? What if that was your way of paying your dues? Would you still be a member of the Galactic Society?
Let's do it. I love this. I love nature. Again, I'm going on like a camping trip this weekend, or this coming weekend. So yeah, I would love to join this and be a mentor with RE.
Very nice, very nice. So the planet Yamradi is known like as the homeworld of these Chillaroos. They're like little mouse chipmunks. Would you agree with that assessment, or did you have like a different idea of their cross? I love their like forest of like there's like all these blues and pinks and greens, and it was like a really Star Wars-y like forest. I really like that part.
Yeah, it felt like the top of the Tanu tree from last week. It was just very colorful, very peaceful, very nice. I think the Chillaroo, that's a good description. The only thing I'd add is they have that like Rhodian snout that like protrudes. That's about all
Weebo.
Weebo.
The Rhodians are never gonna defeat the allegations right now.
Oh my.
Another great episode where Liz is shown to be so great with creatures because she got the whole like Chillaroo clan to come up and like play with her, and RE's like, I've never been this close to a Chillaroo, and they're all just wanting to come play and have fun. And another moment where we really got to see Liz's prowess as the creature youngling take fold.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, she's in her bag in this episode. This is like LeBron Game 7 2016 Cavs. Like, this is Liz just in her element right now.
I'm trying to think. Oh, blocked by Liz.
Blocked by
So good. Also, the camera droid, the one that's like recording all this, its name Cam. Shocking. Just it was a little too on the nose for me. I'm not gonna lie. I love this show. It's very cute. Has something to say for the kids. But like,
what would have worked for me? C4M. That would have been a better like name. And then you call it Cam. I think that would have been what I would have done.
Or if it was I don't know, like never mind. That was a dumb idea. I'm gonna keep that one inside. It was a dumb idea. So the couple more notes here. Liz got so excited to see a new creature that she forgot that it took Ari's friend Cam and was just like, oh my gosh, this creature's amazing. And then like, oh, it's also really bad that your friend got taken. We learned what the word burrow is in this episode. It said, oh, a burrow is typically, and it gave like the definition for a burrow. And then Nubs once again tries to speak the language, and I thought that was fantastic. But Luke, the moment of the episode, I need your opinions on this. Did we know that the burrowberry birds were so powerful in the Force when it starts shaking its giant feathers to use the power of the wind to blow the younglings all the way out the other side of the nesting ground? Surely the wings can't have been that powerful. That had to have been some method of the Force at play, right?
I was a little surprised to see how far they actually got thrown, because all we really see is they take their first steps into the burrow, and then we kind of just cut to like them at the nest.
Right.
And so I didn't think too much distance had passed, and so the bird flaps them out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's like a 10 feet thing.
Right.
No, it like takes you to a different shot, and it's like a long burrow, and I'm like, oh, that just now suddenly changed my perspective on how far they got thrown.
Right.
So that was wild.
So that one, they last a little bit. We had Kai wearing like this crown of berries as they're trying to distract, and then Nubs is wearing like a hat of berries. So that was interesting as well. Just getting like the disguise look that they had for this episode was pretty fun.
So we saw them disguise themselves in the first part. We see them disguising themselves in the second part here. I think we have the theme for this entire episode 5.
This is the Halloween episode.
It's the Halloween episode.
This is the Halloween episode. If they were releasing it like weekly, they would have timed this one up to release for like a Halloween type of time. That's what they would have done. That's what they would have done. So moving on now, episode 6. The 2 parts here is Squadron and Forest Defenders. In Squadron, the Jedi are flight tested. Of course, remember, this all takes place in the year 232 BBY in the High Republic Phase 1, and the executive producer and showrunner here is Michael Olson. But the synopsis for Squadron here is that the trio are getting flying lessons, and Kai is a naturally talented pilot, but gets a little ahead of himself. Ultimately, that will come back to bite him. As the group goes to one of the moons of Tanu to get the training ships, he will learn a valuable lesson of taking it slow and steady and listen to people who are more experienced than you are. Like, as a teacher, I'm like, yes, please, students, let's watch this episode, like, for the future, please. He tries to do some crazy moves out in space and the little, I guess, like asteroid belts surrounding the moon, and tries to do some crazy moves like Nash's throttle buster move, her own little special move, and ends up getting his friend swallowed by the space slug. So Kai is now having to help all of his friends get out of the mouth of the space slug, and ultimately he listens to Nash's guidance and helps get his friends out, and they fly their training vectors back to Tanu. Fun fact, this is the first time we see like vectors in Star Wars, like anything outside, from the books.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were maybe shown in a comic panel or 2, but I mean, this is the first time we've seen them like flying around
right on screen. That's what I meant.
Yeah, like on screen. Yeah. That's a great point. And as someone who is absolutely obsessed with the High Republic, absolutely obsessed with the Jedi and everything about them, this hit so hard to see some vectors. I
just love the vectors. I just love the idea of the vectors, and these are like training vectors, so they're changed. But for those of you who don't know like about the vectors, we're gonna get into that a lot when we talk about Light of the Jedi. But think about like a ship specifically designed so that if you're not a Jedi, if you're not like a Force user, you cannot use it. It takes a lightsaber to be placed to like operate some of the controls. That's like the ignition switch is kind of like the lightsaber. You're basically powering the entire ship through connection with the Force. So it's, the level of precision that is there can only be by, Jedi that are that prolific in the Force, which always has made me think like, is that like a nod to how it doesn't seem like that's the way they do things in the Jedi Order later on, like during the Clone Wars? And is it because the power of the Jedi, their connection to the Force has diminished, significantly over time? Anyway, that's a conversation.
That's a great point. That's a really good like parallel there.
New conversation for another day. But so Nash's best move, the throttle buster. I'm sure you got some thoughts on the throttle buster, but beyond that, I'm going to put you on the spot again here. If you had your own special piloting maneuver, what would it be called? What do you got? What do you got for me?
The Sheehan Shake. My last name.
The Sheehan Shake. What's that going to be? What's that entail?
Describe
it to me.
Barrel roll, and then you 180 flip completely like you're facing this way. Barrel roll, and then you kind of like come back this way and immediately just shoot off anyone on your tail.
Barrel roll forward, flipping backwards to get, so basically you're evading the missiles, doing the flip to get the, other advantage on your enemy, and then fire it down, at the end. Absolutely. And No, that was great. There's so many callbacks in this episode. Like we
Yeah.
have the space slug in the asteroid in the rings around the moon of Tanu, which is obviously when you see a space slug in Star Wars like that, you immediately go to Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yes, absolutely. And even last episode, when Liz is talking about the animals, she mentioned an exogorth as an animal she was thinking of when she's holding this little thing. And so that is the technical name of the space slugs, is the exogorth.
The exogorth. I don't know why he's my Palpatine voice for that. Maybe it just starts with the X, but
Exegol.
Yeah, exegol, execute. So one of my favorite parts was Nash telling Kai how naturally talented he is as a pilot, as Kai is laughing in the beginning, but like his eyes are closed, laughing because he's having so much fun while piloting Nash's ship. And it's like, bro, like open your eyes. Let's go. We're in danger here.
We need you to lock in. You're piloting.
Like lock in here, please. Zephyr, I thought this was interesting. I'm gonna need your Rebels expertise on this.
Let's go. I knew you would, so I wrote it down.
Okay, so Zephyr, he's the same species as the guy that Hera goes to see to get like the B-wing. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, now give me the like species name. What was the guy's name in Rebels? I couldn't remember. And like kind of draw that parallel for me.
Yeah, so it feels really similar. Hera needs to go find a new ship to take on TIE defenders. So she goes to Quarry. He is a Mon Calamari, I believe, same as Admiral Akbar.
Okay. I was like, in animation, I feel like
they do look a little bit different.
Okay, yes.
So yeah, I love that. Even that as a callback to Ralph McQuarrie, who designed so much of Star Wars and why it looks the way it does. And honestly, his unused concepts for Star Wars, the movies, have actually been used heavily for Rebels. I love Rebels so much. And so yeah, this feels like a really cool, digestible story for kids that feels the same way that Rebels will in a couple years when they watch that. So yeah, cool little Zephyr moment where he's like, he's so sweet too. He loves these kids. He's built these specifically for them. He's great.
Is that like the Mon Cala thing? Like they're shipbuilders? Like they
yes,
have
it
to
is.
be. Like, I know they're like pretty prominent in that, and it's not like Corellia, where Corellia is like, you know, the shipyard like place. But I feel like the Mon Calas are usually, you know, hand in hand with like ships and flying.
Yeah, we'll see in the comics that take place between episodes 4 and 5, the 2015 run. They are heavily sought out because the Rebel fleet needs ships, and so they go to the best ones in the galaxy, the Mon Calamari.
Okay, perfect. And so that's like a good callback, and we see Zephyr, you know, same species as Quarry. Okay, I knew you would have that on lock for me. I thought of that too. I thought of that, you know, same episode and everything when Hera's needing the assistance, and I was like, I know Luke's gonna be proud of me for remembering that. So this is interesting. Nash was asked if she, you know, would be willing to go out and help them with the test flight by Zephyr, and she replied with, "Does a Whipplebog snort when it's sleeping?" And Luke, I have to ask you, does a Whipplebog snort when it's sleeping?
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it's a quote Nash herself.
And I'm gonna need you to let me know, what does that sound like?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Like one of those. Okay, I apologize to everyone listening now. We'll get confirmation on what a Whipplebog sounds like in the near future. Don't you worry. Lists always get sidetracked when flying by some creature. This is like the third. I'm keeping a tally. I think this is the third time this has happened. And then now, we have Nash that goes, "Now this is a test flight." She says that in the episode, and that's 100% for the parents watching who are, you know, Phantom Menace parents. And then like, you know, now this is pod racing. It's like 100%. Now this is a test flight. Like, shout out to the Phantom Menace right there.
Thank you, Jake Lloyd. Thank you, George Lucas. Oh man, yeah, I laughed out loud when I heard that, because I was like, There's no way they just did that. Okay, yeah, they just did that. That's awesome.
So the second part is called Forest Defenders, and the synopsis here, the kids are defending this forest, and the trio plus Nash, they're going to the planet Fedarian to learn about Fedarian trees. They're so excited to see this beautiful forest, one of the biggest, most beautiful forests in the galaxy, with some of the most fascinating, spectacular trees that the galaxy has to offer. But Kai thinks he already knows enough about it. He doesn't really know why they're going on this field trip. Feels as if he doesn't have anything else to learn from this particular planet, this particular ecosystem. When they get there, they learn that this loser named Raxlow is cutting down all the trees just to turn a profit and destroy all the cute little Scriffles' homes. Ultimately, they team up and use their wits and the Force to stop Raxlow. Kai learns that there is always more to learn and understand from one's environment. And also, like, we could get into how the kids learned that just churning a profit isn't necessarily shouldn't necessarily be one's ultimate goal in life as well. But we're not going to get into politics and political
I could go on a real deep politics talk about this one. This one got me riled up for real.
I was ready to go to bat for the what do they call them, the Scriffles homes. I was about to ready to fight for the Scriffles homes. It did remind me, when I'm watching this and I see the trees cut off, and I'm literally thinking to myself, like Lord of the Rings, like Saruman, a wizard should know better. I'm thinking, many of these trees were my friends. Like that's all I was thinking about when I saw this first part. But Planet Fedarian, you are a big like reference person in general, like books. I feel like you remember the planets. You like learning about all the different species, all of those things. What do you like? Or I guess really what I'm wanting to say is, do you appreciate it's just a kid's show, obviously, but they have like so many random little planets and different environments that they put them in. Is that something that you appreciate, jumping to just different worlds in Star Wars every week?
I do. I absolutely do. I think my favorite thing about Star Wars is how big the galaxy is. You'll never I don't know. You shouldn't really be made to feel like it's small. You should be pushing the boundaries of many new planets, many new cities on the planets. I mean, we've proven even in the past couple of years, you can go to new places on Tatooine,
right?
A planet we've been to too many times, but like you can still go new places on it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of exploring, even in kid shows, these new uncharted planets, places we've never been to. They don't have reference guides on them. I want to see more of it. Keep it going.
Okay, very good. I'm sure that we shall as we keep continuing on. I love new planets. I'm with you on that, or at least exploring new parts of different planets. They play holo games on the way to Fedarian. You can see very quickly they just wrapped up like this racing holo game. What would be your ideal Star Wars holo game to play while you're stuck in hyperspace?
I think it'd actually be kind of close to what they were playing. It's just like a 1v1 or however many people you can get in there, like a Mario Kart type of like vibe. We're just
like
racing
pod racing Mario Kart.
Absolutely.
Safe racing Mario Kart. Okay.
I'm there for that.
How do we not have that game in real life? Like right now where we can just play like pod racing, like Mario Kart basically in Star Wars. Like how do we not have this game?
I don't know.
Like that would just be incredible, right? Like
there's a lot of like racing video games out there, like Forza, and like give me something that's like not as intense as that, but like they could put some pretty good detail into like building your own pod racer, race it around.
Like, you could easily do like Star Wars. I remember, did you ever play like it was like a Rogue Squadron like 3? You could do like the runs and stuff, and you could also like do little races against people like on the speeders, like you're going against trying to make these speeder runs and you're competing. Like how would we not have like a racing game or whatever in Star Wars where it's like you're literally like a speeder or the pod racing a ships, and you're like going through those things, and you could choose your different ships, different characters have different abilities, and like make it like a Mario Kart style whatever. Like how is this not in existence?
It'd get my money, and I don't have much.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like
it really is a great
Luke
idea.
is willing to spend his nickels and dimes that he worked so hard for on this one game, and we're not going to give it to him. Like, it's just so sad. Moving on to the Fedarian plays. Like, there's always like that one line from one of the kids that is like the theme of the episode, and it's, you know, very cheesy, but it's like, for obviously for the kids, it's like, it's leveled out for them to understand very easily. But it's when Liz goes, "You always learn new things when you visit new places." And I'm like, that to me, it really does. It sounds like an elementary teacher, like, "Yeah, all right, come on in, kids. Like, we always learn new things when we visit new places." What do we think about that?
Yeah. I mean, she hit the money. She hit it right on the money. That's kind of why I love like getting out into nature myself and going places I've never been, because I think that's so true. And as I've taken this past couple months / year to just like when I'm bored, I learn about new countries and stuff. I can list any country and name where it is. I've learned the map pretty well.
Awesome.
So I love learning about new cultures myself. I think lists gained some points with me for that one.
Liz moves up the youngling hierarchy. So are you familiar with Kung Fu Panda?
I am. I have not seen Kung Fu Panda 4 though.
I've not seen any of the Kung Fu Pandas other than the first one. So, you know,
I've only seen the first one as well.
Okay, so that's all you need to know. That's all we need for this. That's all you need to pass this test. So the what are they called? The Scriffles. Do they not look like Master Shifu and a chipmunk had a child? That's what, like, if you're listening, you know, to this, you haven't watched the episode.
Master Shifu.
Scriffles, like Master Shifu and a chipmunk. Like, if they had a child, I feel like that's what the Scriffles would look like, right?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Are you on board with that?
Yes, I love Master Shifu.
Okay. Describe what Raxlow looks like for people who, like, I don't really know. He's like a giant bird of some sort, but go ahead. Can you describe Raxlow's appearance?
Yes, I would say picture like heavily based on like an American bald eagle. I think he looks very similar to that. He's got a dark body. He is a bird. I looked up his species because I was going to try to name drop it here, and I realized there's like nothing to know about this species. There's only one other character who's in Resistance, who's even this species. So I was like, it's not.
Wait, what character in Resistance?
He is one of the people that's in like the shop that Kaz needs to go like buy things from.
Oh yes, I forget that person's name, but I know who you're talking about. I know
his partner from that. So I don't remember his name, but they're like the only two characters who are this.
What actually is Raxlow? Like, the name is Raxlow in both. It's just like he survived all this.
I would die.
I'm gonna go look up his name after this. 100% looking up his name. So Raxlow, he is the definition of corporate greed, right? Like, he's like, I'm going to cut down all these trees to churn a profit. Who cares about the Scriffles home? But our Jedi younglings will not stand for this. They are going to make sure they can protect the mother tree to the Scriffles, the giant tree. And they have like lists and other Master Shifu kids swinging from these limbs. They're tying these ropes and vines around the machine, trying to stop it. Nub's strength is incalculable as he launches a boulder with his back like on in front. Ultimately, they all use the Force to crush the machine. What do we think of this truly climactic moment in toddler youngling Star Wars?
I think it's Endor, but made palatable for kids, because we've got the natives who are these tiny little creatures who are taking down the like corporate greed machines. So it feels like a big callback to that. And also, yeah, I mean, this machine is huge and tough, and these kids just with their like strength in the Force crush it. And I'm like,
pretty good.
Whoa, I like to think that they're strong, but wow.
And they crushed it right after what was said by Raxlow. Do you remember? I wrote this down.
Didn't he I'm gonna mess this up. Didn't he say that like you'll never crush this machine or something like super dumb?
Nope, he went almost there. And I'm
Oh,
like, yep, classic. Whenever you hear that in Star Wars, almost there, you know you're about to get fried. And so
yes.
the machine dies, of course, and then they go off and celebrate the win with the Master Chief, who, you know, Scriffle younglings together.
That
And
poor Y-wing guy
glorious.
in A New Hope, almost
Yes.
there.
Nope, not close. Any final words on these 2 episodes? Any
I'm
final
very
notes you
glad I had the
want to?
chance to watch them. There's great lessons, especially this Forest Defenders one. This one really like got me. I was like, man, I feel very strongly about
Yeah.
destroying. I've watched a lot of like nature documentaries in my time,
Mhm.
and so like I just feel very strongly about this topic of destroying
Mhm.
forests for a profit. So like anytime we can get kids to wake up and realize like the real world is full of actual bad people, like
Right.
let's get thinking
No.
about this stuff.
Mhm. No,
I
that's
like it.
good. I like that. It was a great couple of episodes again, churning out this season 1 for Young Jedi Adventures. Thanks for tuning into the Timeline Show. Catch us next week. We will be on episode 7 and 8 next week. So we'll be like pretty close to the halfway point. As of wait, no, how many episodes are there in season 1?
So in season 1 there are 25.
Okay, so I not the halfway point. For whatever. Oh, I forgot. Like they released 2 chunks. Like it was like 16.
Yes.
They like released the last like 8 or 9 or something like that, right?
So I believe at one point I was all the way caught up. I actually haven't watched all of the episodes yet,
Oh,
but
oh,
they had
oh.
13 released at one point. Then they released 6 more, so there were 19. Then they released 6 more to be
Okay. So
25.
I was wrong in like 3 different ways. Fantastic. The great way to end the show. Well, it doesn't matter because we're gonna be here for episodes 7 and 8. We'll see you next Saturday on the Timeline Show. For Light and Life, remember we're all the Republic, everybody.